Hi there, Mark Dowling, piano teacher and musician and music director. I'm going to talk to you really shortly in this video about how musical improvisation has a lot to teach us about how we approach life and how to succeed in life. Many times I will create a video where I'm just improvising with a certain chord sequence. Or perhaps I've got a theme in mind, maybe it's a Bible passage, maybe it's a picture, a famous piece of art. Or just yesterday I actually stared out the window, looked at the rain and started to play whatever came into my soul. The only trouble with that is occasionally when you improvise, things go wrong. And there are a number of reasons why things go wrong, and there are a number of things that happen when they go wrong. Let me just start with the reason why things go wrong. Firstly, improvisation in music and in acting is never truly spontaneous creation. There is always an element of planning beforehand. Namely, we've agreed on a chord sequence. For example, thinking of jazz music, there's a lead sheet or there's a specific tune that is followed. Also in jazz, there's usually a jazz vocabulary. So there's already a lot of preparation having gone into this and a lot of strategic planning having gone into this. So improvisation, first of all, needs to be recentered in terms of definition. Improvisation is a spontaneous creation of something that's already been consolidated and understood. The trouble is, if we have a misunderstanding of that definition, then things can go a little bit messy in our improvisation and not work out as it really should do. So, when I improvise or when I go to a situation in life to try and succeed at it, to try and create something, whether it's a business startup, whether it's a piece of music, whether it's a composition, whether it's a conversation that needs to be had, unless there's initial planning, unless there's a target in mind, you're going to find somewhere along the lines this creation is 1, messy, 2, loses focus, and 3, probably doesn't have any longevity to it at all. And this is a very sad thing when that happens. So first tip, have in your mind the goal that you want to achieve. And having that goal in mind, make sure you have consolidated enough material, enough wealth of experience within that sphere of the goal that you're trying to achieve, in order that your spontaneous creativity and your longevity of that finished product is solid and steadfast. Secondly, one thing that perhaps goes wrong in improvisation, so this is the element of what can happen when I haven't got that initial step of a long-term goal with consolidated material to meet the fulfillment, the criteria, the creation of that long-term goal, is I can end up creating something in the music that was never intended. Namely, be improvising at the piano, and suddenly I realise, oh no, I'm not going to be able to stretch my finger to reach that particular note that fits with the chord sequence. So at this point, I'm going to put in an atonal clash, some kind of clash that was not planned in the first place. And it might work, because I can play with that. You can play with things that go wrong. Again, you do need to have that wealth of experience to do that. But actually, if we're trying to create a finished product, if we're trying to start up a business, if we're trying to have a specific intentional conversation with someone that needs to be had, those maybe, as Bob Ross calls, happy accidents, but actually they are distractions. Oftentimes they can be distractions. So those distractions actually, in the long term, alter your initial goal. Now, sometimes that's not a bad thing, sometimes that's a healthy thing, but actually that goal in your mind is in your mind for a specific reason, and you need to be faithful to your vision. So when we make those mistakes at the cost of our vision. This won't matter too much to a person who is not concerned about values, but if you want to be successful in life, you need to have core values. And as creatives or as business folk, we need core values in order to meet our main goal. So when I make those mistakes in music and I hit the wrong note, a note that clashes with the harmony, oftentimes I'll say that was an intentional clash, when in reality what I'm doing is a two-step failure program there. Number one, I am trying to justify myself when things go wrong. I'm trying to say what I did wrong was intentional and that it is just absolutely part of my vision. And by doing so, I'm extending my vision into something that it was never intended to extend into. In other words, my vision is becoming less and less focused and more abstract. And vision is never abstract. So that's the first issue with that, is we start to justify our wrongdoings. If you do that in a business, it could end up in a lawsuit, depending on what's happened. Don't justify your mistakes. Own them. And if you're a musician, that might mean you need to re-record it again. Fine, do it. Because your vision is supreme. The second thing that we might do when we hit a mistake is we might think, well, you know what, this works. And again, it's very much the same as the point I just mentioned, really. But we might end up saying, hey, this is part of the original vision. Or we might say, you know what, that will do. It's fine. It's not that big a mistake. So we can live with that. We can let that slide, and it's part of the vision. Never let things slide. Okay? Because that mistake can be corrected. If you're an improviser or if you're a classical performer, in a live performance, certainly things have to slide. And you don't have to say at the end, I messed up on bar 22 or whatever. Or I clashed with the clarinet player when we re-entered the head of this jazz number we were doing. No, that's different. But when we're creating a product, when we're doing this stage of creating a new business or this stage of creating a piece that we're recording on our phone, if there's a mistake, address it. You have the power. Stop, re-record. It will be even better next time. This is the issue. I suppose you could call it a sin. The sin of compromise. Do not compromise. 2, sin of laziness. Don't be lazy. Work at your craft. If this is a vision that's really from your heart, you're not going to compromise. So these are just a few lessons I've learned from improvising of late, and I hope they encourage you to stay focused on your vision, to make sure you understand everything you need to understand about your vision, but also make sure you're not making these excuses of, oh yeah, I meant that, or actually I suppose my vision can reach that. You're losing focus, you're compromising, you're being lazy. Don't do those things. I don't mean that to condemn you, but I want to encourage you, do the opposite. Be focused, be vision oriented, have values, have goals, and don't compromise. Make sure within your powers that you can get the best recording or the best plan and strategy, best networks possible you can in order to live and thrive, whether you're in the business world, whether you're a performer, an artist, a filmmaker, whatever it is. Go for it. and succeed with all your might. Thank you.